Hi, this is Reese Roper, and you're listening to our newest podcast ever.
Hey, everybody, this is Andrew and John, and we love this podcast because it's about us.
Welcome to Magnified Pod, the second season, our newest podcast ever. And I did it all for the Nookie. This is Andrew.
This is John.
And this is our podcast.
Yes.
That intro will be relevant later.
Okay.
It's not well, okay, I'll just say it up front. What year are we talking today?
It's 99, bro.
Talking 99.
Year of the biscuit.
Year of the biscuit. Year of the new metal. We're gonna get into it a little later, but before our biscuits get limp, I want to introduce our first, I don't even know how we were talking about this before we started recording, that a guest that is not an interview but is contributing to the pod. I think that's I don't even know what to call it. Just like contributing. He's
going to be riding alongside us for this whole journey.
Yeah.
Not just a certain interview segment.
No, it's definitely not just an interview. It's my brother, Brian Nelson Phelan. Hey, everybody. Yeah, he's we've been talking about Brian quite a bit throughout the history of the pod.
He's a legend.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that was the word you used last week. I was not comfortable with.
Yeah. Legend is generous. But I think I mentioned maybe in the first episode about how I my first introduction to Five Iron was, I think, from my memory, was at least through him, because I borrowed his Upbeats and Beatdown CDs, the CD for my drama class, and but we'll get into some of the all of that history stuff when we start talking about the record a little later.
Well, Andrew, I wanted to ask you, when did you first hear of Brian Nelson Phelan?
I think I first heard of Brian Nelson Phelan would have been...
Oh, when did you first hear of OG Brian Phelan?
OG Brian Phelan. Let's see, when did I start forming memories?
It's around then.
So it was around maybe 88? Maybe?
Yeah, that sounds right.
80... was I 4 years old? When did I start having object permanence? I don't know.
So first there was object permanence, then he gave you his CD, and now this is all owed to Brian, basically. So
yes, that's the very short history of the development of my brain and our relationship.
None of this would have been possible without you.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll get into because Brian, is that your original proof that you threw a Revolting CD?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I had so I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, because we do have some corrections that we need to make. Maybe we should just do that at the top of the show.
Any apologies too, or just
John and I are both canceled.
See you guys.
Which is actually kind of amazing that it's taken this long.
Yeah, right?
No, but so I think I had said that this was recorded at Cornerstone, when in reality this live album was recorded partially, but they don't really indicate which songs, with the exception of the opening, which gives the impression that it's recorded at Cornerstone.
Yeah. Sure.
But Danny Leary calls us out in a voicemail that we'll listen to a little later. But yeah, just want to get that at the top of the show, that surprisingly this podcast lacks professionalism and research. So that shouldn't surprise you that we got something right. We got something wrong. Well, it should surprise you when we get something right. But I think we at the top of this new season, and at the very first MXPX episode, we said, mostly 5-iron and mostly accurate. You know, that's what we aim for. That's the very high bar.
I think it's fair.
Yeah. John, are you drinking anything over there? Because you have no more magnified hops.
It's true. You know, it's been a long week, and I needed something a little stronger than beer tonight, so I got some little cocktail action. Just a G&T.
Oh, nice. Well, Brian and I finished up some Koval bourbon.
Oh, yeah.
And now
bourbon. I thought it was a single malt.
No, it was the Koval bourbon, I think. But we're gonna crack open some Three Floyd's Gumball Heads over here.
Into it. Yeah, normally I prefer my liquor brown, but this is what my wife likes, and I was like, whatever will get the job done.
It's a very summery drink. You must be.
Yeah, it's summertime in my wife's heart all the time. What's happening over there?
I must have a spit take for some reason.
Nice. So, and I guess there's another correction I need to make. It was nothing that anybody pointed out to me, but I didn't make I talked last episode about the 5-iron shows and MXPX shows that were happening, but I just talked about Atlanta, and I totally didn't even mention Orlando. That was also happening.
Yeah.
Happening last week. But I did get some, we do have some voicemails from people that were there, and I know that Danny Stairs was there, Nikki P was there, and it sounds like they were amazing shows, and that everybody was super amped up. So
pretty cool.
I'm sorry to have missed it.
Yep.
Do you have anything else you want to discuss before we get into some voicemails and before we get into this week's game?
I don't think so. Let's do this.
All right, let's do some. Why don't we start with a little Nikki P, since we haven't heard from our boy Nikki P. Nikki P over here. We haven't talked to this guy in a while over here.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Hey, it's your Nikki P over here. Hey, what are you doing over here, boys? What the fuck is up? Sorry for the long hiatus of silence, but it's been taking me a while to get through your content. But you guys told me to call after the MXPX 5-iron show in Atlanta.
That's right.
And it was off the chain. Off the chain. One was a good buddy of mine. He's a huge 5-iron fan rather. And I'm more of an MXPX guy. But this podcast, y'all's podcast, has brought me into taking some deep dives into 5-iron's catalog. So thanks for putting out that spicy, delicious content. Also saw our boy under the stairs, Danny Stairs.
Yeah.
Nice.
There. He was in the VIP line, and I rode his coattails, then got into the VIP line without a VIP ticket. So thanks to our boy under the stairs. I'm trying to think of anything else. I don't want to take up too much time. So if you want to follow up, I gotta message y'all. Super pumped to have listened to the third episode, which was released today. So I will be listening to that. But many smooches, magnified pod for life. Peace.
Yeah.
Man, I missed that guy.
He's the dude.
He is the dude. And this is also why it bums me out that that amazing MXPX 5-iron show that we had in Chicago brought so many great people together. And man, I wish Adam from North Carolina was there, and Brian was there, and man, I'm blanking on some folks, but
a lot of people
were there, and I was like, man, if there were like some more. It feels like now this is like that would have been a spot to like be at too, like getting Nikki P in that up in the action.
Yeah.
Next time we'll make that shit happen. We have some Danny Leary action here.
Hey, this is Danny, Sadie Hawkins Pod, at Sadie Hawkins Pod on Twitter and Instagram.
Okay.
You can call our voicemail line, which is 402-95-SADIE. Let us know what you think of Reline K.
Okay.
Go ahead and do that. Anyway, I'm calling because I just started listening to the quantity is job number one. And Andrew.
We have a little we have a little fail here. Just wait.
Okay, I'm back. You can edit that anyway, if you want to. Anyway,
I will not.
Andrew was talking about having.
Don't make more work for me.
Yeah.
So he's calling in, he's plugging his own podcast, and he's telling me how to edit my podcast.
This guy.
This fucking guy. Woo.
Somebody on who had been at Cornerstone 1999, and then you mentioned that's where Proof That the Youth Are Revolting was taped. But the fact is, that album was like recorded all over that summer tour of whatever it was, 98 or 99. I can't remember because I don't have the liner notes, and I've actually already tweeted this at the show, and Andrew replied, and he's looking at the liner notes now. But I was bringing this up because, yeah, a lot of people don't realize that, especially now with streaming, you just hear that first track where they're like, Cornerstone, Welcome Fire Frenzy, whatever. And then you don't assume like each track is kind of going back and forth across the country for that, like a bunch of Christian festivals that they toured that year. One of them is Inside Out Soul Fest, which is now just called Soul Fest. And when you guys originally talked about Cornerstone in an early MagPod episode, I was like tearing your ear off about my Soul Fest experiences. But particularly, I remember like 98, 99, whenever they would have been taping that album, they had it advertised there because Fire and Frenzy played multiple sets at Soul Fest that year. And they're like, come to this specific set because they're going to be recording their live album there. You know, so I guess it was in one of the indoor locations, which they didn't have a lot of shows there. And I was like, I got to go to that show. I got to be part. And I assumed it was going to be all the live album, not that it was just going to be one portion of it for the final product. That year, I went with our church youth group, and they had all these rules about you got to check in here at this time. You can't be without a partner, like the buddy system. You got to go to this many sermons, not just all music, and you have to have something signed off that you went. Yeah, that was the last year I ever went with church or youth group or anything. I always went by myself after that because I couldn't get to that Fire and Frenzy. So I couldn't, much less like get in line to get inside. Like I wasn't even allowed the time to go to it. So I was like, fuck them. I had always went to Soul Fest by myself after that. But yeah, in the end, it was like not just Soul Fest. Like I assumed it's like all kinds of different places that they recorded for that final album. Like not final album, what the fuck? There is a final album. Anyway, see you later.
Danny, a little scattered.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think he was realizing that he was he got it in under the wire because, as we all know, the Google Voice only gives you 3 minutes.
And we have the kind of listeners who will for sure take up that. We do 3 hours, they give us 3 minutes. So.
That's how it works. So yeah, so looking at the liner notes here, they list the cities and some of the festival names but they don't list all the festival names in here. So, but yeah, I'm assuming like maybe he said Soul Fest.
Yeah.
There's like,
it's usually, that was out east somewhere, I think.
Yeah. So there's like, Virginia, Maryland.
Is there a Pennsylvania one?
There's Mount Union, Pennsylvania.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
I think I went to Soulfest once back in the day to see, do you remember Onothallo?
Of course I do.
And I think they may have played Soulfest or something like that. But yeah, that might be the show. I wonder, because he said it was an indoor recording.
Yeah.
And in the outtakes, you hear Leonore say, like, sorry, we're in seats now. We're sellouts, and you got to.
Yeah. Well, we have let's have some Danny Stairs because he has some experience with the live shows too.
What's up, guys? Your boy Danny Stairs again. Long time no call. Following up, I'm excited to hear from Andrew's brother about his experience being at the recording of Proof That the Youth Are Revolting. They also recorded that at the Alive Music Festival. And I was at the Alive Music Festival. There was an opportunity to sign up to say you were there. They had your name in the liner notes or whatever. But I was, at that point, I was way too cool for ska. So even though I watched them play, I didn't want anybody to know. So I intentionally did not sign up for saying I was there because it'd be way too fucking embarrassing. And then, I couldn't even be an online presence anywhere right now because people would still be ridiculing me if they found out how much I like ska. So I'm interested to hear his take on it and if he's actually proud of himself. But,
Never proud of myself.
Mad Proud for life. Love you guys.
So yeah, I just double checked to make sure this wasn't another Danny Stairs lie. If he was in here, he would be next to Ken Starr. Ken Starr was is a big ska fan, evidently.
He got done impeaching Clinton and he went to the ska fest.
Yeah, I think it was straight to Creation Fest or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, Brian is in here for the record.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about this.
OG Brian Phelan in here.
Nicely
back before
done.
I made my name a mouthful.
Yeah, so he's between Megan Fender with a PF and Melissa Phelps. There are a number of Phelps in here.
There's another podcast mention that is in the liner notes there. If you look under John Ecker.
That's true.
I was going to ask if he was in there too. Yeah.
Yeah, there is our boy John Ecker. There he is. Yep. Man, yeah. So we've got some old school peeps, some old Magpod references.
Mm-hmm.
So Danny Stairs has some other thoughts about some of the things we talked about this last episode related to movies.
Hey guys, your boy Danny Stairs again. Calling in response to Andrew talking about his first R-rated movie in the theaters, Saving Private Ryan. I recall, I don't know how old I would have been. You guys can figure this out if you want, but you can figure out the year. My cousin and I went to go see Mod Squad, and we tried to get tickets, but it was rated R, so we couldn't get tickets because we were, obviously we weren't 18 at that time. So we got tickets instead to 10 Things I Hate About You, and we meant to sneak into Mod Squad. Then we got too nervous, so we just went and saw 10 Things I Hate About You. And I'm a super softie. I don't always show this side, but I love romantic comedy. So I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm not sure how my cousin felt about that. I don't remember, but so that was my first attempt at sneaking into an R-rated movie, and instead I just snuck into the movie I paid to go see, and I had a good time. Anyhow, Magpod for life. There's not even 10 Things I Hate About You guys.
Well, let's first off let's set the record straight. Nothing wrong with 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah.
John, controversy? A little controversy?
This is like the Heath Ledger thing? Yeah. I don't know.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Larissa Olenek.
I felt conflicted about it in high school because I felt like it was like, he's got the whole thing where he's trying to be like punk and cool for Julia Stiles.
Well, it's the same thing as like they were doing. It was in the same era as the Romeo and Juliet with the Leo, because it was just like a common day Taming of the Shrew was
right.
So it was just
something about like I had this, my puritanical gatekeeper.
Oh, I know you because you're the worst
philosophy. Yeah, that's correct. And I was just like, they're name dropping like Bikini Kill and the Raincoats, but like they don't even know what that means. This is like disrespecting.
Oh, you're so unbearable.
Correct. I remember it had a good soundtrack though.
Yeah, it did. Brian, so we talked about this last week. Danny Stairs and I were too good to sneak into a movie. John was a rebel and punk and was like doing whatever the fuck you want.
I was sneaking into all kinds of movies. What a crazy guy.
He could do whatever
he worked in the theater.
That's true.
What are they going to do? Fire him?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, you could have done that. Did you ever do that? Like buy another ticket and sneak into a movie?
I don't remember doing that. But I also don't remember wanting to do it and not doing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I feel like, because I don't know, I didn't go to the theater that much in high school. We ended up just renting a lot of movies.
Yeah, we rented, Blockbuster got our business for sure.
Yeah, the Rand Road Blockbuster, just hitting that up all the time. So,
Randrad, shout out.
yes, let's give it up for very local Northwest Chicago suburbs talk.
Yeah, right.
That's going to come back later when we talk about.
And if there's anything else that Brian and I definitely have in common, it's our shared love of team sports that we played.
What's up, guys? Your boy Danny Stairs again, calling about high school sports. So I did some soccer, like rec league type stuff when I was, like, I don't know how old, 10 years old I might have started or whatever. I played a couple things here and there, did some indoor, some outdoor. Played soccer in junior high, 7th grade. Then I switched schools, 8th grade. I took that year off. And then we got up to going into high school. And so my parents were like, you got to be involved in something. So here's the information about soccer.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to the first day of soccer conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, absolutely not. I ran, like we took our first break from running. Everybody's like having their water or whatever. I'm like, I got to go to the bathroom. I slept and never came back. I was like, no, absolutely not.
That's a good move.
So I was like, here I am. Like, I could spend, the last couple weeks of summer getting up every day, busting my ass, or I could just stay home and tell my parents I'll do something else. So needless to say, I did not get back into any sports. That is how I got into the theater, though. So they kept insisting I do something. So I got into our theater company. I'm an honor bar member of the International Thespian Society. You know how I love to toot my own horn. I hate to toot my own horn, but it was a really good time. Met a lot of really weird people, some of whom I'm still friends with to this day. Don't remember any of those soccer players, though. Sports people are weird to me. Congratulations, I guess, to those people who are into that, too, as well. So, Magpie for life. Love you guys.
That is not too different than my story about, like, doing, like, 3 football practices and it was like, this is the worst decision I possibly could have ever made.
That was, I mean, of all the things you did as a kid.
Well, it was my freshman year of high school, and I was trying to prove something.
Right. But that is the most like looking back on you, that is the one thing in your life that more than anything else, I'm like, what the hell are you thinking?
You're trying some things on.
I did it to try and like show these other guys, like, I can do this.
Put me in a box.
Yeah, don't put me in a box. What's in the box?
And it was probably just because I knew the football coaches because they were our gym teachers at the time. And I was like, why would you want to spend any time with those guys?
What was his name? Nudera? Mr. Nudera.
No, that wasn't okay, maybe I'm remembering what you
Get him on the pod.
Definitely not.
Let's clear this up.
Nope. Brian and I both did play baseball in Kansas. Both catchers. Kansas summers.
105 degrees
like 100
in catcher's uniform.
It was the worst. I mean, I don't know. That could have been the worst decision I ever made in relation to sports. It was unbearably hot and miserable. But
catchers, though, they don't get just anybody be a catcher. That's something.
Yes, they do.
I loved doing that. I wanted to be a pitcher, and then the coach one time relented and let me pitch, and I got shelled for like 8 runs and like a half, not even like a full inning. It was awful.
You should have said you had to go to the bathroom and then never come back.
Can I do that for like a future job? Just be like,
that's like my go-to move for a social situation I don't want to be in.
It's the Irish goodbye.
The Irish goodbye, just like, oh, I have to go see over here, and then like,
hey, where are the drinks? Where are the beers? Stay in the garage. Scream.
John, you didn't embrace the Minnesota goodbye when you lived up here?
Not so much. Oh boy.
That got weirder.
See, like, Does he have his turn signal on?
It sounds like it.
I love
the Phantom Cackler's calling on the road.
He's in traffic. He's changing lanes. He's like, time to throw my boys
I love to think that he's in traffic and somebody looks over and he's like,
He did a little, that was a new one.
That was new.
Thank you for that.
Our boy, the Phantom Cackler.
That's right. Never leave us.
Okay. You gudo you want to play a game? Or do you have any thoughts?
I wanted to shout out some of our comments on social posts.
That is fair. That is a good call. I forgot about that. I forget about people that care about us.
We are very active over on Magnified Pod, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Go check it out. Get in there. Mainly we're asking folks to weigh in with their top threes. We'll throw out some questions of the week soon. But we did get a comment from Ryan Cole, who gave some thoughtful thoughts on the Facebook page about his...
thoughtful thoughts?
Is that what I said? That sucks.
You work in editing and publishing, so right?
I don't work in talking. You know what, guys? I got to go to the bathroom. Slam.
We don't work in talking, says the guy who's done a podcast for almost 2 years.
Yeah, well, does this work? I don't know. Debatable. He gave some nuanced and complicated thoughts on his top 3 songs from newest album ever, and he mentioned that the song Every New Day, which, Andrew, I will say, like, we are apparently the odd men out for not having Every New Day in our top 3, which, like, maybe would have been an obvious observation, but literally everybody who weighed in had it in there. So
I know, and it's obvious to me why people like it, and I think I'll get into a little bit more on this episode why it's not in mine.
Yeah, and for the record, I love that song, but it's tough to crack the top 3 on that record. Yeah. Anyway, he was sharing something that I meant to mention on the pod and forgot, but that in the song Every New Day, Reese references the poem The Tiger by William Blake, which has the lines from the poem, "When the stars threw down their spears, watered heaven with their tears." And I mainly know that poem through Calvin and Hobbes, because there's a there's a strip where Calvin recites the poem and Hobbes is like, "What a weirdo," or whatever. But yeah, the poem is definitely kind of about the duality of human experience, which certainly makes sense in the context of that song and the struggles that the song addresses. So anyway, thanks for that comment, sir.
I also want to shout out our boy David Robledo, who likes to. He sends his thoughts directly to the MagPod Instagram.
He slides into those DMs.
Just to give us his thoughts, and so and he's somebody else too that gives well-crafted, well-thought responses to the albums. And so he says, "All that is good. Always love the musical composition of the song. Bass lines are amazing. Along with all the melodies and the horns, Scott really left on a high note. The lyrics are amazing, thought-provoking, and captures Five Iron at their most prime, even through this rough patch they were going through while making this EP. This is why they're one of my favorite all-time bands. One Girl Army musically kicks ass. It's the start of Micah throwing in his metal roots style in the playing. Also love the horns in the song. It really makes it shine. Riot Gear is a classic, arguably the best song musically they ever made together. It really puts them to the test, especially Andy's drumming. Honorable mention is Dandelions. I've always loved the earnestness in the song. Still holds up for me even today. Evil Plan is such a banger of an opening track. The first 3 releases have their best opening tracks by far, quite possibly the most technical ska song under their belt. Andy really went all out with the horn arrangements, and the horn arrangements are phenomenal. The first 3 releases, he talks about those are the best opening tracks. And Brad is Dead is amazing musically, and was hard not to have in my top 3. Keith really kicks ass once again throughout the whole EP with his bass playing. Looking back now, I really did take a lot from him in my own personal playing as a bass player. So
Love it. Some good takes.
Yeah, he talks about the he's the only one to mention the pants songs.
Oh man,
that the metal song is his number one as well.
All right. Well, what do I know?
Yeah, what do you know? Fucking
Brian, what are your top 3 pants songs?
That was not a task I was tasked with for tonight.
Okay, fine.
okay.
Can you settle though that the reggae one is good?
I do like the reggae.
Yeah, that's right. That's the correct take.
I was not fully on board with Andrew's just kind of total disdain for it.
There was no disdain. It's
utter crapping on.
No, you guys are assholes. I mean, I think as I look back on it, I do think if I were to replace, I might swap out the Meatloaf one. Swap out the rap for the Meatloaf one, because I'll never forget when I saw you standing there wearing pants. It's just
beautiful.
It's comedic perfection.
It's glorious.
It's a glorious thing.
Agreed. Well, so, yes. Everybody share us your thoughtful thoughts at all the places.
Hashtag thoughtful thoughts.
And ideas.
Sounds like a new segment right there.
Thoughtful thoughts.
John Potter's thoughtful thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we play a game?
Let's do it.
All right. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, 1999, it's the year of new metal. We had some quintessential new metal albums coming out in 1999.
It's true.
I think when people think of late 90s, early 2000s, they often think of it in negative terms because of this era of new metal, rap metal, alt metal. So I want to take this time to test your new metal knowledge and ask you to finish this new metal lyric.
All right.
Is it a multiple choice question?
This is multiple choice. Okay. I will give you a line, and then I will give you 3 new metal. I will give you 3 lyric options. So you choose which one of the 3 options is the real lyric. And keep in mind, one of these is a real lyric. So, self-titled debut from Slipknot. Their song Eyeless. This is the lyric. Insane. Am I the only motherfucker with a brain? I'm hearing voices. And here are your options. But they don't even know my name. But all they do is complain. Or, and they help me with the pain.
I'm going C.
Is this a question for each of us right now?
No, both of you. You can both.
I didn't know which was.
I'm hearing voices, but they don't even know my name. But all they do is complain, and they help me with the pain. Which is the correct answer?
They're all plausible.
They don't even know my name.
Okay, I'm going C. Pain.
You're both wrong.
Oh boy.
But all they do is complain. Is the actual answer. So I write better.
It's the weakest of the 3 answers right there.
My main Slipknot knowledge window is through the mashup of Justin Bieber's
Psychosocial.
Yeah, Psychosocial. Slipknot Psychosocial and Justin Bieber's Baby. I waste my time.
It's amazing.
Check it out.
The aforementioned Limp Bizkit from 1999's Significant Other, their song Show Me What You Got. I thank God, Mom and Dad, Adriana, for the love I feel inside. Jordan, my fat ass band. Without him, I'd be nothing but a pumpkin shoved inside a can.
Okay. I hope it's that one.
A muffin baked without a pan.
Okay.
A rappin' punk without a band. Okay, so Jordan, my fat ass band. Without him, I'd be nothing but a pumpkin shoved inside a can, a muffin baked without a pan, a rapping punk without a band.
I'm going to say C as well, but I really hope it's the muffin one.
Yeah, I think it's C. Oh man, is it fat ass or is it a muffin?
It's a pumpkin shoved inside a can.
Again, the weakest of the lyrics.
What does that mean? Like canned pumpkin mix?
I don't know, but I threw in a rapping punk without a band to throw you off because he would have rhymed band with band, which
wouldn't have been a problem for those guys.
Because he has historically rhymed the same words. So,
oh man, that's amazing.
So 0 for 2, you guys. Okay, but here we go. This is a more well known song. So Crazy Town. The song
come my lady.
The song Butterfly from 1999's Gift of Game. Such a sexy, pretty little thing. Fierce nipple pierce, you got me. Feeling like I'm lusting.
No.
Sprung with your tongue ring.
Yeah.
Recognizing that I'm writing objectifying lyrics.
I wish it was C.
It's B.
I think it's B.
Yes.
Hooray.
Yes. Fierce nipple pierce, you got me sprung with your tongue ring is the
Oh boy. That's
correct.
that is 1999 for you.
Yep. All right.
Guys canceled from that era.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we got Mushroom Heads, Solitaire Unraveling from 1999's M3.
Why not?
There's a calm before the storm, and the Western Front is quiet. I've got Rembrandt as my right hand, and Satan as my pilot, Dali as my pilot, as in Salvador Dali, or Solo as my pilot.
This was the Chewbacca themed band, right?
Yes, we all know that Mushroom Head, deep Star Wars guts. I've got Rembrandt as my right hand, and Satan as my pilot, Dali as my pilot, or Solo as my pilot.
99, the year the first prequel was released.
Interesting. Yeah, you're correct about that.
I don't think it's Solo. He wasn't in that movie.
He was not in there. You know, I assumed that Rembrandt was not an allusion to a Renaissance painter. Like it was like a dude in the band. So I'm going to assume that you're making him more highbrow by suggesting a connection to another famous artist. So I'm going to rule out that one. I'm going A.
What was A again?
Satan as my pilot.
Sure.
I'll bite on B, on Dolly.
Okay, so you're both wrong.
It's Solo?
It's Solo as my pilot.
But
wow.
What? Why is he talking about Rembrandt and Han Solo? What's going on?
You guys don't ask these questions because none of them make sense.
That actually makes me want to, I have more respect for him.
Yeah.
He's referencing Rembrandt and Solo. That's a guy I can get behind.
Well, it does, but he's got Rembrandt. I've got Rembrandt as my right hand and Solo as my pilot. He doesn't even continue the metaphor. So whatever. Okay, this one should be a gimme, but I just want to, because I figured this would be a little bit, this might be a little bit of a challenge. So, all right, POD, the Fundamental Elements of Southtown from that 1999 album. Rock the Party, parentheses, Off the Hook. Great song. We gots to play What We Feel, so then I can say I came real. Don't want to be caught messing around because a party ain't a party when it ain't in town.
Nope.
If it ain't Southtown.
Nope.
Or when it gets shut down.
Yep. See?
I'll co-sign Brian's choice here.
Yep. A party ain't a party when it gets shut down. Shut down.
Just like the party they had in the aforementioned John Ecker's backyard.
I was there.
That one didn't get shut down though.
The police did get called though.
Okay, well, then it's a party.
All right. The last one, Static X from the song Love Dump from 1999's Wisconsin Death Trip. I know you both love Static X.
Yep. Yep.
So okay, this is one to end on. I've always loved you. Love dumpling. Your shit's like chocolate cake.
Jeez.
And your ass smells like a rose. It's my favorite dessert. Oh,
gross.
Gosh. I need the recipe.
This is wonderful.
So your shit's like chocolate cake and your ass smells like a rose. It's my favorite dessert and I need the recipe.
I love C, so I'm gonna support C.
I was thinking the same thing. C as well.
Okay, so what is your answer? Your answer both is C. Okay.
C.
You're both wrong. Your ass smells like a rose is the correct answer.
Grossest lyric pull yet.
You're welcome.
Ugh.
So,
Static X, catch him on tour.
nope.
Summer.
Wayne Static is dead.
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of sad, but still gross.
Still very gross. But anyway, so I hope you enjoyed that game.
Yeah, solid game. Nice work. You've honored 1999.
if we've captured 1999,
my work here is done.
My work here is done. John, should we move on to? Do you want to move on to the 5?
I think we have to.
Well, after that segment, there's only one thing to do. Do the 5. Drop it!
Hello, my future girlfriend. This is what I sound like. I am 11 years old in the 6th grade in New Mexico. Please PM me if I'm you. Bye. Thanks for stopping by.
Why are you the way that you are?
Because my life is dope, and I do dope.
I don't know what I'm doing this time with that intro, but it's
gonna be great.
It's got a top Troll 2.
They're eating her.
Then they're gonna eat me.
Oh my god.
Oh man, what a garbage movie. Do you know the thing that bothers me the most about Troll 2? Is that they're not trolls, they're goblins.
Right, yeah.
And they live in Nilbog, which is just goblin back. It's just like everything is lazy.
Yeah.
Like, why would you call something troll and like it does? That's, I mean, of the one thing about that movie to complain about, it's there's plenty. And
yeah.
It's not, and it's the acting first. Anywho,
have you actually seen that whole movie?
Yeah, it's bad. There's a scene where they're like in a trailer and like this guy and girl start like making out and like popcorn starts popping for no reason. Isn't that movie?
Is there a Troll 1? Is there like a movie just called Troll?
Yeah, I think it's.
Doesn't
that have Julia Louis-Dreyfus in it?
No.
No, that's Leprechaun. I'm pretty sure. Or no, that's Jennifer Aniston is in Leprechaun.
I thought Julia Louis-Dreyfus was in one of them.
She might be. I remember, I mean, there's a whole documentary about Troll 2. It's like called The Worst Movie Ever Made or whatever. But I remember that there was something about the director like didn't speak English and there was just a fundamental misunderstanding between like trolls and goblins and Troll 2 not having the same characters as Troll. Anyway, it sounds confusing.
Well, they all got eaten because the goblins turned people into plant matter or something.
Right. Naturally.
Whatever. Okay, so I'm going to start first because I think you went first last week.
Sounds good.
And I'm going to start with albums. I think we almost always start with albums of 1999 that were. So I'm going to split this into kind of two little bits because the albums that I listened to in 99 that came out, and then the albums that I later discovered in much later after the fact that I have come to appreciate since then. Out in 99, Nothing Gold Can Stay by Newfound Glory. Fundamental Elements of Southtown. So that POD record, despite it like maybe not totally holding up in every way we might think of, like I still fucked with that record big time when it came out, and I still think some of the songs are kind of jams. And
is this the one with like Youth of a Nation and Alive?
No,
and
no, that was
Satellite.
Oh, okay.
That was Satellite.
Okay.
No, Fundamental Element. Yeah, Satellite came out in 2001 on 9/11,
Okay.
and this was
take that their single "Boom" off the radio because
Yeah.
of 9/11.
yeah.
Is that the Here Comes the
Boom!
Ready
Yeah,
or Not?
yeah.
How you, how you like me now?
Okay. I guess I forgot that was them.
Yeah, and I Feel So Alive was also off Satellite.
Okay.
Joy Electric Christian songs, MXPX at the Show, of course. The first Hangnail record. Those guys, I don't really feel like those guys get a lot of love.
Yeah.
I think that they had outstanding guitar work in that band, and I wish more people gave Hangnail some love. I saw them at Heart and Soul back in the
Right
day.
on. Back to the northwest Chicago suburbs.
Yeah, exactly. Brian can probably tell you plenty. Did POD play at Heart and Soul?
I was
They sure did.
No, so I was thinking when you were talking about, I didn't really make a list for the 5, but if I had a list, one of the things that would be on it was I saw in '99 on that POD tour. It was POD Blindside Project 86 in Heart and Soul Cafe, which is like for people who aren't familiar with.
It's a coffee shop.
Yeah, it's like maybe 100 people could fit in there.
Yeah,
it was
insane.
One of the best shows I've ever seen in my life.
I was not at that show. I don't know why I wouldn't have been at that show, but I hear. I mean, it seems like a show of a legendary show. But John and I have talked about quite a bit, and I think you can probably attest to this, that Squad 5-0 seemed to come through Heart and Soul
On the reg.
I think I saw them there a couple times. The band I saw at Heart and Soul more than any other band was the Insiders.
Yeah.
They were there.
Because they were from Michigan.
They were there, it seems to me, looking back on it, like every 2 months. And so we saw them a lot, and, a lot of their stuff does not age well. So
I would bet that.
I'm not putting Scalaluya on a lot. So.
Ooh, we were just talking about Scalaluya last week.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet that my wife was also at that POD show for what it's worth.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Let me throw out the albums that in going back did become pretty significant albums. Anti-Flag's New Kind of Army, Magnetic Field's 69 Love Songs, which is a masterpiece.
It's on my list too.
Sigaros's Algaitis Biryun.
Good call.
I had to look up the pronunciation. It's and it's perhaps one of the greatest experimental records ever made. It is pure brilliance. That record still almost brings me to tears every time I listen to it. So
good album.
That is that's my first one for the music.
Oh, that was just the first one. Wow.
Well, we took some detours. So go ahead for your what's your first?
Yeah, I'll do albums too. I mean, yes, also Magnetic Field, 69 Love Songs, as you heard on the first episode of this season when we played Magnetic Fields by mistake instead of Magnified Pod right next to each other in the old iTunes.
That happens.
I would put Sigur in there. I forgot to put them on here, but that was certainly a big record for me. I guess, yeah, it was more like college that I got into them, I suppose. But yeah, Dillinger 4, This Shit Is Genius. It was like a compilation album. I was into that. Moby's Play record was really big for me, which I think I've talked about on the pod before, that I interviewed Moby and hung out in his house and on his roof. Yeah. Good times with Moby, my dude. Tom Waits' Mule Variations. Where do you stand on Mule Variations?
Oh, I actually have that on my list as the album that later became important, that I forgot to mention. That and the American Football debut. I don't know why I forgot to mention those two.
Okay, I got
I
that
love Mule
Tom.
Variations.
Okay, I got that Tom Waits album for Christmas that year, and I loved it. But it was kind of a controversial one at the time among Waits fans. That it was like a little
Really?
more pop leaning, but I think it's
Man,
great.
it's so good.
It is great.
It also features the Tom Waits classic. What's he building in there?
Building in there.
What's he building in there?
It's so easily parodied.
I did I mention this on the pod before that I heard that song on The Current?
Of course.
Like that to me, if that doesn't crystallize in your mind the kind of radio station that The Current is, that they would play not some sort of any other song from Mule
Right,
Variations,
that one.
but what's he building in there?
Yeah. I swear to God, I heard someone moaning low. What a weird song. Okay.
It's not even a song.
Yeah, it's a sound poem.
It's a spoken word.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like Ninth and Hennepin from
Yeah.
Rain Dogs.
Only weirder, even. Midnight Vultures, Beck's sort of Prince homage album. Loved that one. Built to Spills, Keep It Like a Secret. Oh, man, that record was huge for me. And then keeping with sort of the rap metal theme, Rage Against the Machine's Battle of Los Angeles.
That's true. That
was a big one.
Yeah.
So those are my albums.
Let's talk some movies because this did come up, but also out that year, that big movies for me. The Matrix.
Also on my list.
Fight Club.
Also on my list.
Office Space.
Good one.
Whoa.
No, it is a good one. It's just not on my list.
Okay. Phantom Menace, of course, which is well, it's a cultural touch point. It's
something.
It's significant. It's the first new Star Wars movie since 1983. So
Misa hated it at the time.
It's garbage.
It sucks. I mean,
I feel like I owe it a revisit, but I don't know that it's going to have improved much.
No, it'll definitely get worse.
Just listen to the Binge Mode episode on it.
Yeah.
Oh, I did.
And Brian, I threw this on there because I knew you would appreciate it because we watched it a million times. Samuel L. Jackson's classic, Deep Blue Sea.
Oh man, I love Deep Blue Sea.
This is the one where
love Deep Blue Sea.
He gets eaten by the shark mid monologue, right?
It's the greatest death scene.
It's a great kill scene.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But like
Samuel L. Jackson as like a cook on the station who used to be a preacher.
That's LL Cool J.
Yeah, LL Cool J. Yeah, he's like. Yeah, he starts quoting Psalm 23.
Yeah, he carries a big ass stick.
Big fucking stick.
Big fucking stick, yeah.
Oh, man.
As Samuel L. Jackson gets eaten by sharks, spoiler alert. Yeah. I mean, it's been over 20 years and it's been parodied quite a bit. So I think they even parodied it on was it Family Guy? I think, or
I'm sure that sounds right.
Or one of those shows, but
yeah,
Office Space is one of those perennially. It became sort of like the new Tommy Boy that it was just so easy to quote. Everything from that movie.
Yes, I made a movies list too. Matrix and Fight Club, naturally. Being John Malkovich, I loved that movie.
Never seen it.
Oh, you should watch it. You would like it, I think. Sixth Sense. Can't leave out Sixth Sense.
Never seen it.
Oh, what? Okay.
It's one of those movies that it got ruined. It's got spoiled for me immediately. And so I was like, I have no motivation to see it.
That one got ruined by a college professor of mine in like a week after it came out.
It got ruined for me by Andy Richter from Late Night with Conan O'Brien. I don't know why they left that on the air. He's like, and Conan was indignant. He's like, I haven't even seen it yet. Why would they do that?
That's something. What? Who is the professor, right?
Scott McKnight.
Oh man, Scott, my advisor. How could you do him like this?
It was like the intro to the Bible class or whatever that you had to take. There was like 100 students in that class, and
did everybody like groan?
He was dead. Like yeah.
Well, It's a great movie, even if you know what this twist is. I'm just gonna say, I got it on DVD if you want to borrow it.
The classic John Potter line got all.
This
Just,
was
if you enter John Potter's house, it is just floor to ceiling DVDs.
Well, I gotta say, this time of like late '90s, early 2000s was like peak DVD buying period.
That is true.
So that stretch of like, I don't know, whatever, 99 to 2006 was like, I bought all the movies from that time. Anyway, Sixth Sense. I saw it like opening weekend, and I knew nothing about really much of the movie, or certainly not the twist. So I went in fresh, and that was a good experience. And then Eyes Wide Shut. I was a big Stanley Kubrick fan growing up, and still am. And that movie is weird, but I appreciate it in high school, even though it's weird, and I've come to appreciate it more since then.
Can we talk TV? I only really have one TV show that I feel like it's a TV show that I didn't watch at the time.
Is it one that goes, get over here? Because there's one that has that kind of thing.
That's The Sopranos. I've never watched The Sopranos.
Oh, man, I got it on DVD if you want to borrow it.
No, it's Freaks and Geeks.
Oh, also great. Yeah.
So I didn't watch it when it came out. It's a show that unfortunately didn't last even a full season. And it's kind of a bummer because I think at that time when it came out, I would have been 14, 15, and I 100% would have identified with the geeks. And I think maybe it would have helped me feel like seen a little bit more at that time. But also, I saw it for the first time after it came out the collection came out on DVD. I saw it in 2008. And it just sort of reinforced my forever Hollywood crush on Linda Cardellini and how she's the perfect woman.
That show's incredible.
Are you just gonna you're just gonna like walk right past my love for Linda?
I'm with you.
Because did you ever watch Boy Meets World?
I mean, yes, but I don't remember Linda Cardellini being on it. She was Corey's love interest that when they did that school trip to that ski trip, and she worked in the lodge. Okay.
She was Lauren, and she like almost ended the relationship, Corey and Topanga relationship.
Well,
I think of her now because she's Hawkeye's wife in the Marvel.
Yeah, I mainly think of the Avengers now.
Well,
which is not a full use of her talents.
No, but she was also on ER, and she's also in The Amazing Dead to Me.
I haven't seen that yet, but I've heard it's good.
Please, it's so great. It's
you
so
have it
great.
on DVD?
No, they have not released the Netflix series on DVD yet.
Weird. That's strange. Yeah, I put TV shows too, just because probably my two favorite TV shows of all time.
West Wing.
Yes, West Wing and Sopranos both started that year. So
West Wing was the one that came later for me. Once when Netflix was new, and they were still doing the DVDs.
I've got the DVD box set.
You're gonna have to spend like hundreds of dollars shipping me heavy ass boxes of DVDs.
I will do it. they took it off Netflix, or they're taking it off soon, or something. So
disaster.
Yeah,
that is. I mean, it's what made me fall in love with the idea. Yes. Yep. I just carried over my love of Linda Cardellini.
I don't think she was on that one.
No, she was not. I just want her to be in everything.
What were you gonna say? Sorry.
No, Allison Janney's also great. But
Allison Janney is the Linda Cardellini of the West Wing.
I've always said
that. So also, Brian, this relates to you, and I'm going to need you to co-sign this memory because I was trying to
say about that.
Was 1999 the first Ecuador trip that we took with Northwest Covenant?
That you took?
That I took.
Yes.
And you went on that one as well, I believe.
You and I were both on that trip together.
Yes. Yeah. So that was my first
problematic missionary trip days.
Yeah. So our
BMTs. Problematic missionary trips.
We went to Quito, Ecuador, with our then home covenant church, and it was a pretty profound trip. We went and worked at a it's hard to even know what to call this. It's essentially a compound, or it would be the equivalent of like an old folks home, but they like kind of, people would just sort of like, I got the sense that they would leave elderly ailing relatives there.
Yeah, I think it was like a mostly abandoned elderly people.
Yeah. And so we like went to was this the one where we helped like build a wall like around the compound to kind of help with
#build a wall?
Yeah, it was a big, beautiful wall. The Ecuadorians paid for it.
I don't remember if it was that trip. Or
If it was that
following
trip,
trip.
it was a following. I went on 2 missions trips to Ecuador. I think you went on 3 or 4.
It might have been 4.
Yeah, because I think you went.
I went twice in high school, and once as a volunteer and once as the youth pastor.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I mean, it was also just kind of interesting to visit places with. This is my first time kind of like seeing kind of crushing poverty, and just being kind of like overwhelmed by, wow, people live in and depend on garbage, and people are just like legitimately dropped off and forgotten. And I don't remember if it was that first trip or the second trip where I remember there was an older woman who was like grabbing your face and just sort of like touching your face and like holding your hands and speaking Spanish to you. And I don't think, I don't remember.
Yeah, I took like 4 years of Spanish in high school, and it still sucked.
But it was like it was like watching somebody just be like dying to have like some sort of like physical connection with people. So
it's hard. Those are like, I have very fond memories of those trips.
Yeah,
but they mean very different things to me now than they did at the time.
Right?
Because I can see like, the things you think you are doing when you go over there is like it's worthless, and it's in some ways harmful.
Yeah.
But we weren't. I mean, like the kind of stuff that we did when we weren't doing the like.
We weren't like preaching or going to convert. I think we were mostly going there. We did like physical.
We did some
work.
Physical labor, but a lot of it was also, we're going to go see a lot of different stuff that's already going on in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So we would go and see stuff that existed down there, which was maybe why I feel less guilty and problematic about it now than I would if it was like, hey, we're going to go do our own church thing down in this country, as opposed to like, let's go see what this church that exists already down here is doing.
we went to like, it was the middle of the summer on the equator in a church with no air conditioning and like tons of people, and they were all like singing, and we're all just sort of like going and visiting them and not being like, let's go and try and teach them something. It wasn't like that kind of, so yeah, to your point, that there are, I do feel like there was less problematic elements to what we were.
Yeah.
It was more like partnerships in different ways than it was like exporting our own ideas.
Right. Thoughtful thoughts and ideas. I mean, bringing it back to Heart and Soul, the coffee shop church we mentioned, Jenny was very active in the youth group there, and they went on some major #problematic mission trips. So yeah,
shocking.
Yeah, certainly a variety of kinds of mission trips made available to teens on fire for the Lord in the late 90s. Anyway,
it kind of boggles my mind that Jenny and I didn't know each other during high school.
It's weird.
Same.
We probably hung out in the same spots.
Many times. I'm sure.
Same. I mean, like that's something like we've talked about this, and Jenny and I talked about this on
Fixer Upper app.
Fixer Upper app, probably.
Yeah.
We need to hashtag get her back on the pod.
She'll come back. She's got some 5-round takes.
Well, when we do the slick shoes, pod.
That's right.
What's your number 5 or 4 or whatever?
Yeah, I'm on 4. We're almost done. I'll also go with a bummer for my number 4, which is just to say, and we'll get into this with the album, but that was the year of Columbine, and
right. Yep.
I mean, yeah, we'll talk about this, but it almost seems like quaint now, which is a horrible thing to say, but just like how much coverage and how heavily scrutinized the event was then, and how it's just like, I don't know, an average weekday now. So yeah, I mean, I think that like moment changed the culture in some ways, and also is now just like a weird kind of footnote of like that would become the new normal not that long after, but it was still unusual enough at the time that it was like the whole world was like, what are we going to do about this anyway?
Yeah, we actually talked about it for longer than one news cycle.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we'll have more thoughts on that later, but
more thoughts for your thoughts.
Thoughts, exactly.
And I want to mention this. This is I don't know. We might get into this later if we ever get people to contribute or send some of their if they have a shitty ska band.
Sure.
But this was the era that I really started writing a lot of my own music.
Yes.
And a lot of my own songs. And we have shared a number of them on the pod before.
We sure have.
I don't know if we should
share some more.
Should I share one of these over here?
I think we always need to. When did Andrew's party drop or whatever it's called?
Andrew's party. That might have been around this time.
Okay.
Let's see. Girl of My Dreams, Flesh Marks on My Heart.
Oh, a classic. This one has a long intro, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay, hold on.
It's a legit song. I'm into it. I'm a Flesh Marks fan.
It's a low-key banger.
It hurts. Go. It hurts. Into it. I really want to do the backing yelling vocals on that one.
Yeah. So there's that. All right. So
my number 5.
We don't need to hear any more of my shitty music. Okay, go ahead. What's your number 5?
I disagree, but my number 5, real briefly, MySpace and Napster both launched in 1999.
Shit! That's
very,
right.
Important.
Changed the landscape of music.
It's true. Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah. Remember when you had your top 6 friends on MySpace? That was something.
Was MySpace really that early?
Yeah, apparently. I mean, I feel like it really didn't get thriving until, I don't know, what do you think, like 2005 maybe?
2005 is like when I think of Tom and MySpace.
Yeah, it probably didn't take off until around then, but yeah, launched in 99.
Damn.
Big year.
When did Zango launch?
Ooh, had to be right around then because that was blowing up when we were in college in early 2000s.
And yeah. What was your what was your handle?
I believe we talked about this, but it's perfect. It was Conditioned Response, which I thought was just like the punkest name ever. Also, Zanga did launch in 1999, so shout out to
shout out to Zanga. Brian, did you have a Zanga?
I never had a Zanga, no.
Okay, because I think mine was Strong Rad.
That sounds right. That's a much better name than Conditioned Response.
Was it like a blogging thing?
Yeah,
I think it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was.
Did you have a Friendster?
I definitely had Friendster.
Makeout Club?
Was that a thing?
Makeout Club. That was
I referenced this on a previous episode.
That was my dorm room freshman year. Oh,
hey. False.
Whoa.
Sorry, maybe it was true.
You still had a high school girlfriend at that point.
I did have a high school girlfriend. # problematic.
No, Makeout Club was like the sort of emo version, also launched in 1999. The emo version of MySpace. It was like you had to be kind of like punk to have a.
Oh.
It was really
that's
cringy.
That's unbearable. That's like the pre-Tumblr.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was the 5.
That was the 5. All right, let's close it down. The 5. All right.
Kaboom.
All right, should we? We'll take a break. Then when we come back, we will be revolting.
Yeah.
All right, we're back. That's all that is good, which can't be said for John's feelings about certain songs.
Hey, save it for the segment. I don't know what we're doing.
Well, all right. We are talking about proof that the youth are revolting, which is LOL, a joke.
It's got layers.
It's a pun. We are which is explained in this obnoxious booklet that they released.
Let's hear it.
They say revolting verb 1 to renounce allegiance to the act of the act of revolution. 2 to be extremely offensive or disgusting.
It's kind of like 5 Iron in a nutshell.
Yep. It says we set out in the summer of '99 to make our first live record, which you hold in your hands, armed with our heavy metal costumes and also jazzercise and our hick costumes. We set off on summer tour across the U.S. Our friends in the bands, the W's and the Smiley Kids, came too. Remember the W's? Said no one.
I remember them.
Yeah.
We this is the 4th consecutive November release for them. November '99. That's an impressive run. This is also on 5 Minute Walk, produced by Masaki Liu. And as we were saying before, it was recorded at 11 shows throughout '98 and '99, including Cornerstone.
Yep. And we have with us today somebody who was there, one of the many
backup singer.
One of the many people obnoxiously listed in this impossible to read booklet.
Isn't it?
You wish you were listed in that booklet.
I definitely wish I was.
I do wish I was. I still cannot remember my first the year I first went to Cornerstone. I don't remember.
I know you went some summer when Dad was one of the speakers.
Yes.
Yeah, you've talked about this.
And so I would ask Dad which summer he went first.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to remember either.
Well, I don't know. You got to sleep in a hotel.
I did
you were
sleep.
all bougie with your visit.
Sell that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's 1,000,000 degrees in the middle of nowhere, and
I wish I slept in the hotel.
Yeah, so don't call me a sellout when you're just.
That's the punk way. You wish you were a sellout, but you can't be one.
I would have sold out too if I could.
Oh man, it was the best.
The first summer I was there the summer that this concert was recorded. The first night we were sleeping in our tent, and there was a giant thunderstorm, and our tent collapsed. I ended up sleeping in the passenger seat of a Honda Accord all night, and it was awful.
That's punk though. That's
all of our stuff was wet. It was,
that does sound miserable. I slept comfortably probably.
We should say, for anybody who's confused about the references to the long booklet and the backup singer thing, they had this thing during those shows where people could sign up at a booth to be listed as a backup singer in this like 12 panel fold out of the liner notes that has literally thousands of people, right, who signed up.
It is. I mean, I don't know what type setting this is, but it's extremely small. And then
did you, Brian, tell us about signing up for that? How did it feel?
I don't remember much about the actual. I mean, I don't even remember if it was at their. I'm sure it was at the actual tent where they played in, because this concert was not played at the main stage.
Oh, it wasn't?
No,
I always pretended.
I think it had to do with the recording aspect of
Sure.
it, and I don't think they could record, because from what I tried to Google and find the listing of, they played on I think it says in there, like July 2nd, and that was also the Sixpence was at Cornerstone that day.
Right.
So my assumption is that they played main stage, because I have a recollection of being in a tent for the 5-Iron show. So I'm sure they had some sort of sign up in. It was one of the bigger tents, but
I remember the 1 year that I did see 5-Iron on the main stage.
Yeah,
so
they did play main stage, and they probably would have played main stage if they weren't recording live. Is my assumption, because
that sounds right.
The Supertones played main stage the day before that. So,
we should say too that it sounds really good. I mean, production wise, it's pretty impressive for a live record.
I'll say this too, that considering how many different shows they played, how consistent it sounds.
Yeah,
it doesn't sound like, if you didn't know, you would assume that it was just a single setup.
Right.
And they just because it doesn't sound like. I guess that's what you get when you have a good producer, good engineers, and it just sounds good.
There are some tracks where the snare is a little tinnier than others, but yeah, I'd say for the most part, especially the horns sound great.
The horns sound amazing.
Yeah. This was the first album with Sonny Johnston, post Scott Kerr. Sonny, previously of Jeffrey's Fan Club, which I was into them. And this one got to 190 on the Billboard 200. Pretty good.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby. Yeah, I don't know. This one is kind of a weird one for me, and maybe this will be reflected in some controversies around my takes on some of these songs. But like, it wasn't a huge one for me as a kid. I wasn't a big live album fan in general, and still don't really like jam on live records that often. I think I talked about this with the MXPX records, but like, for me, I think what I'm looking for in a live album is kind of like what I'm looking for in a covers EP or a covers album, where it's like, I just want to hear something different.
Unless you don't.
Sure, but like, I'm not consistent.
No, this is just what I remember about all of our the MXPX cover albums. That, like, we tried to nail down what it is we wanted in a cover, and we were so wildly inconsistent.
I think I hope it's true, at least, that like, if you're just doing a straightforward cover that's pretty similar to the original, I'm not really that into it for the most part. I think that's true. And if you're just doing like the song live more or less how it sounds on the record, like, that's great, but like, I don't know if I need an album to listen to that. So I guess it's when they sort of branch out and do some interesting different stuff that I'm the most awake for these songs. Not that they're like boring, just like that's when I feel the most engaged. I don't know. What was this a big album for you guys?
I mean, I don't know if I would say it was a big album. I seem to remember really feeling like the Secret track was.
It's pretty great.
It was the best of all the Secret tracks that they've done so far.
You mean like the outtakes and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Outtakes are great, and I think it's a good mixture of their songs, and it's also, with the exception of maybe swapping out of maybe 4 or 5 songs, it's not too different than the set that you might see today.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. And the songs that you do want to hear that are staples, they like nail and they sound great. So that part is not an issue for me. I don't know, Brian, did you remember any of these songs in particular from when you saw them there, or like do you remember anything
in terms of like whether that was a song that was recorded at the show I was at?
Yeah, that ended up on the album, or anything memorable that
I mean, I don't know. It's really hard. So I told Andrew this the other day, that one of the things I remember about going to the show is that they played like, I don't know, for 45 minutes or an hour, and then they took a break. And then they came back out and they said, hey, we screwed up a couple of songs. We need to play them over.
Interesting.
And so they played a couple of songs again in order to get a better version of it. So it's really hard for me to know, other than that first kind of the introduction and the first song, to know which of those was actually at the concert I was at, because of the way they recorded that. So,
I mean, I feel like there are some unique moments in some of the songs. Like, I mean, I don't imagine Reese mixes it up a ton with his like goofy banter, but like, other than the first song is really the only one that you could possibly nail down.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only one I know for sure.
Right.
Because I think that, it was, 21 years ago.
Right.
And so my memory of very specific aspects of that concert is a little on the fuzzy side.
There's I forget which song it is. I don't know if it's a Handbook or a Flowery Song or something. Reese says, all right, this next song it's so hot, I'm going to have a heat stroke.
Actually, I was just about to say that's a song that I could very much see being played
at Cornerstone.
Yeah,
because it's oppressively hot.
It was always sunny and 105 degrees.
Yeah, with no shade anywhere to be seen.
Yeah, it was just awful.
Yeah, I think I said this on the previous set, but in keeping with the theme of my wife being at the same events as you guys, when I asked her, she went to Cornerstone many times, and I asked her, like, if you could summarize your Cornerstone experience, what would it be? And she's just like hot and miserable and hot. So, yeah.
Yeah, hot. I ate a lot of
dusty.
I ate a lot of gyros, which was a weird thing to eat at a festival.
Hot meat when it's like 100 degrees.
Give me that kebab.
Give me that hot meat, baby.
Yeah, I would just go. I mentioned this in any number of episodes about Cornerstone, but just going into the merch tent to just get out of the sun.
Yeah.
But all right, should we do this? Should we do this?
Let's
that
do
intro?
it.
All right.
Okay, Cornerstone 1999. Please welcome Five Iron Frenzy.
Yeah, this guy sucks.
Okay, please welcome.
Who's a band, I guess.
Making us wait for it.
Yeah. Big shots. Sellouts.
Cornerstone, are you ready?
I'm pretty impressed with him right there.
Super impressed. This
There's
intro.
one thing I have to say before we play this song. And that is, to hell with the devil!
intro with Final Countdown and One Girl Army.
So much.
It rules.
My number 2.
It's your number 2? Awesome.
Yeah, I'm kind of lumping, the Final Countdown with One Girl Army together
definitely.
as one super track.
Absolutely, for sure. No, that's part of the package deal.
The Final Countdown intro rules. It's just so great.
No, it's great. It's perfect.
It's tough to lose the opening to One Girl Army because it's so good, and it makes for such a fun live opening too. But if you're going to lose it to something, that's a pretty good one to replace it with.
Yeah.
The hair metal scream. I love a Striper shout out.
Yeah.
I was actually looking into that because Striper played Cornerstone, but I think it was 2000.
Okay.
I had hoped it was the same year because that would have been great.
Yeah,
it's a good collab.
Do you remember them? Do you remember them wearing what they were wearing? Were they wearing Striper outfits?
They had some sort of like insane kind of metal outfit. At least Reese did.
Yeah,
Reese had about 10 costume changes during the concert.
So great.
Okay, so speaking of, did you see this recent post?
Yes.
That on I Hate 5 Iron. That made me want to punch.
I did see that. Yeah.
So somebody posted a picture of an article that they found about a 5 Iron concert or something from.
I think it was from Ska Against Racism too. Right?
Yeah, they were wondering if it was from Ska Against Racism, and this guy posted this obnoxious. There wasn't anything too special about this 8-piece from Denver. They were good, but they only played the kind of third wave ska that is so prevalent these days. What stood out the most about them was the lead singer's ever-changing costume. First, he came out dressed like a girl and made fun of Gwen, but before I knew it, he was wearing shorts and a t-shirt. Every time they looked away, he put on something new. Next, he put on a big hat, then another, and yet another. Then a shirt that said corporate rock still sucks, and finally another hat. All the musicians were proficient, but not outstanding by any means. For one song, the trombone player took over the vocals, and for another, that girl in the band took over.
Boo.
Some of the songs they played were Let's Go to Canada, not the name of the song, by the way. Fistful of Sand, and Banner Year, which evidently is about the slaughter of a bunch of Indians or some shit. Does that make me an asshole because I don't care? Oh, well.
I mean,
fuck this guy.
I think he won the Pulitzer for that, right?
I mean, for being racist and misogynistic and and elitist in like the shortest period of time. And what a douche.
Is there a byline on that article?
No.
Probably for good reason.
This guy would definitely be canceled.
He get him on the pod. He
and that author, Doug Tentacle.
Yeah, he's saying the like outfit changes like it's a bad thing, but I'm like, that sounds great. By the way, I'm watching right now a video of One Girl Army from Cornerstone 99, and they're all wearing metal wigs.
Nice.
They all have outfits of some kind. Leonore's got like a nice fringe denim jacket going. It's it's worth looking at.
It's not the best quality, but it is.
No.
It gives you a good idea.
That's true.
Well, I mean, I imagine that this would have had to have been on somebody's, giant RCA camcorder or something like. I don't know what did they have in '99? Like, did they have like those like kind of smaller handheld cameras or
I think
like
so.
mini DV or something? What did they have back in '99?
Send us in your DV camera thoughts. I don't know.
All my pictures from Cornerstone 99 were taken on a disposable camera.
Did you bring any?
No, I didn't bring the pictures. They don't. It's hard to see, there's pictures from the things, but it's really hard to tell. The quality's so crappy.
Sure. All right, let's, I need to get this transition.
That's right.
What's up, Cornerstone? Thank you for rocking! This is a rock and roll song.
It's so fast.
bass rules so much.
So good.
Welcome to Canada. It's a maple leaf say Canada, oh Canada. It's great, people are nice and let's be friends too. If you don't like it, man, you sniff through the great wide door. The kids are black, hosers take off. It's not as bad. I want to be where yaks can run free, where Royal Mountains can rest me. Let's go to Canada. Let's sing today. Yeah, Canada. Passez-vous plaît.
A perennial classic.
Pretty good.
Sounds great.
Yeah. I got nothing to say.
Did you do a top three?
I did a top three.
You did a
Yes.
top three?
Ooh,
Okay.
can't wait.
Oh, nice. We'll go. So far, One Girl Army was on my top.
That was your number one
for
from the
quantity.
Quantity.
Yeah.
That was your number one. It was my number two.
This was your number one for the.
No. False.
Oh no, this was yeah.
You're thinking of Dandelions.
I'm thinking of Dandelions. Sorry. Flowers in the title.
Joy fills the week, joy makes us strong. Filled till we burst, song of praise to the God of the universe. Despite ourselves, despite our loss of hope, despite our lack of faith, despite story hearts, despite the wind, despite the every time of all, we think this world should be placed up from a blessing for place in my reach as you veil up, place him above the heavenly.
Jam for sure. Where was this on your top three? I feel like this
wasn't in there.
It wasn't on your top three for upbeats?
It was not.
Interesting.
I can tell you what was in our top threes. If you would like me to.
I just want to play this
Various animal noises. Sound of a cat. Sound of a donkey. Various sounds of wild pygmy elephants.
You guys familiar with the wild pygmy elephants?
I think so. They
pygmy alligators and stuff like that, right?
Sure. They really slow it down for that bridge.
Yeah. I feel like it's pretty fast, the song.
Yes. Very fast.
I wish one time I would be at church and that we would sing the doxology
like this.
That version of the doxology instead of the slow version usually.
Yeah, it's hard to hear the doxology in the years post 5 Iron.
when I was playing on the Resco band,
I want somebody to pick it up every once in a while
exactly
from the pulpit.
When I was playing in that Resco band every week, Brian, you should have told me.
I would have requested it.
Made it happen. Yeah, this is okay. Just briefly, Flowery Song, not in either of our top threes for upbeats and beatdowns. Mine was Cool Enough for You, Old West, and Beautiful America.
That's right.
Milestone, Old West, and Cool Enough for You. So anyway,
just setting the record straight.
That's right. Mostly accurate, mostly 5 Iron. This one's super fun. It's really fun hearing all the from the crowd.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Speaking of sellouts.
your identity into. Did you think the word alternative was only meant for the likes of you? Do you think that they're too cool now? Being popular is lame. You're the one who made them popular. All the time they're still the same. You found them first, it made you stand apart too low. But then everyone jumped on the same bandwagon, making you an average show. Living for the mediocre, you were just a plain old joke. And status quo, blame it on the band now. If you prick them, do they bleed? What's the point in playing what they want if you own them to succeed? Do you remember where we all came from? Do you remember what it's all about? When you made a point to be attractive before you started writing hits for the sale.
That song, it sounds really good live. I think that it's of the live album cuts. I think it's probably one of the better.
It's my number 3.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it was a contender for me. The sound, the horns just sound so crisp and so great.
Yep.
Wonderful.
And there are some of the songs that I choose for that kind of that
Sure.
reason. I just think they stand out, and I think this would probably be my number 4. I just think it sounds really great. I think Reese sounds really good.
I love the moment in the beginning of the song when Reese fades out and the crowd is singing.
Yeah, that's great.
And I mean, it's for me, you guys have a much more kind of musical ear for what's going on with the instrumentation and stuff like that. For me, when judging a live album, it's what are the songs that I want to hear when I go to a 5-Iron concert?
Yeah.
And like, this is one of the songs that at least judging based on up to the albums they've released at this point, if I didn't hear this song and the other 2 on my list, I would walk away disappointed.
Sure.
And the way they nail this song on the album.
Agreed.
That is very fair, and you're making a compelling case to bump my current number 3 in favor of this one. But I have definite pit FOMO on this one. I'm hearing them mixing it up in the pit, and I really want to get in there. And the crowd singing along in the beginning. It's great. It's awesome.
I mean, John, like it's one of my those moments at the MXPX 5-Iron shows when we find each other in the pit for some of these songs, and just like
so great.
It's a great experience. It's to Brian's point, it's moments like that or moments like this, if
that
you
you're
will.
gonna miss.
We will never not do a MXPX reference if we have the opportunity.
If there's low hanging MXPX fruit, we're gonna grab it.
Yeah, those sugar coated poison apples will pull those right off the tree. It's those moments that really make a memory in the show when the crowd really unites and sings along. It's just like that's a beautiful moment. I'm into it.
It's great.
Also, this song kind of captures something about that era of music. I don't feel like you get that kind of that sellout thing is not as big a deal these days.
Yeah.
And something about this song really speaks to I had just graduated from high school at the recording of this live album. And so it kind of like captures a lot of my feelings about music in that era. And so it just holds a very special spot for me.
For sure.
And John knows a lot about selling out and having feelings about sellouts.
That's true. Yeah, we talked in that episode.
John wrote the book.
It's true. About
you would have didn't you say this song was like specifically for people like you?
Yeah, it was good. It put me in my place a little.
Authors include John Potter.
It was just me on the cover with my arms crossed,
standing at the back,
looking like a grump. But yeah, I think I was just the kind of person who needed to hear a song like this and be reminded of a couple things.
All right, let's transition into
I want to sing a song. Can I sing a
This
song?
is your number one, right?
I do love metal.
It's true.
Sonny. Hey, Sonny, are you going to play?
Hey, Sonny.
You going to play this song? I'm going to sing. Okay, this song, I'm only going to sing this song if our horn players agree to sing background vocals. Are you guys going to do it?
Is this Dennis?
Okay.
Who is this?
This song is dedicated to my mom because she's here tonight. Yeah. And this song is by a heavy metal band called Vengeance Rising. And the name of this song is called Receive Him. I hope you like it. Here we go. Receive Him! Thanks. That goes out to my mom. She's proud of me because of the way I dress.
All right.
I mean,
That kid in the background always throws.
This song's called It's So Hot I'm Gonna Have a Heat Stroke.
All that is good.
Where does a misunderstanding come from? Demanding that we be outstanding and then some. Perfection never was a requirement, although some might say we desired it. So then for times when things get old, I might get cynical. I see that I don't see. Do they see you when they see me? In honesty, there's room for improvement. Thoughts may change. The truth be told, a closed mind will leave you empty. Use your mind to cruise your soul. Alert the press.
So, using the context of the secret bonus track Mistakes, this is one of those songs that they pointed out that they flubbed. And even this version doesn't sound amazing.
it's tricky with all the harmonies and stuff. I mean, there's
Not even the harmonies, just like even the horns are just like a smidge, just the tiniest bit like off in the beginning.
You get the feeling that this was the best version they had, not the version they really wanted.
That's kind of my impression. And I think at this point it still is one of their newer songs, with the exception, I mean, obviously it came out in 98 and they play New Hope and Ugly Day, which also aren't the strongest cuts on the record. But what are your thoughts on this version?
I mean, I want to circle back on Receive Him real quick.
Oh, sure.
First of all, who is that talking? Like, who's singing the song?
I don't know. I don't know if it's Dennis.
I thought it was Dennis.
I thought it was Dennis
always
too.
had Dennis in mind for that.
Me too. But then he's like, I won't do it unless the horn players do it. And I'm like, well, he is a horn player. But I think you're right. I don't know. This might be a corrections corner next week. But okay, Vengeance Rising. Do we know them? Were we aware of them?
No, I don't. Okay. I don't know. I always thought it was a joke.
I did like a deep dive on them. They have a fascinating history.
Vengeance Rising?
Yes. They were a Christian thrash metal band in the late 80s and then became Satanist. And then now the guy is an atheist.
Amazing.
I
love it.
They were known at the time for their brutally violent Christian album covers that would get them banned from Christian record stores.
Love this. Why did I never?
Yeah, I think you need to do a Vengeance Rising deep dive. That song "Receive Him" was on the album "Human Sacrifice." So anyway, shout out to those dudes. I don't know. I mean, I think the bass in All That Is Good sounds great, as we discussed earlier. I think David Ablado said that, and we said that on the app. The bass line is wonderful there. I don't know. Yeah, it's not. I have it as kind of one of my like fine songs for this record. So.
Oh man, yeah. The Human Sacrifice. It's the cover looks like Jesus's hand in like getting nailed to the cross.
Yep.
That I'm here. I'm here for all this.
It's kind of a weird
all their records. Come on vinyl.
I think we talked about this in an ep at one point, but it's like that line between, death metal and like Pentecostal Christianity is pretty blurry when it comes to sort of like the reveling in the bloodiness of like the crucifixion and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but it seems like he's still active according to Wikipedia.
Okay, get him on the pod.
Get him on the pod. We'll get also associated acts: Deliverance, Holy Soldier, Circle of Silence, circle spelled with an S, Once Dead, Die Happy, Clank. Wasn't that a Tooth and Nail band?
Sounds vaguely familiar.
Blood Good and Worldview. I thought Clank was definitely a Tooth and Nail band, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, no, they were. Yeah, Clank was a Tooth and Nail band. Interesting.
Well, apparently they're buddies. Yeah, with Vengeance Rising.
All right, shall we move on to the other Flower songs?
Let's do it.
In a field of yellow flowers underneath the sun, bluest eyes that spark with lightning, boy with shoes undone. It's young, so full of hope, reveling in tiny dreams, filling up his arms with flowers, right for giving hitting queen, running to her beaming bright while cradling his prize, flickering of yellow light within his mother's eyes. She holds them to her heart, leaving them where they'll be safe, right within her very marrow, and they lions in the face. She sees love where anyone else sees all hope is found. Here is everything. Rather bless your endless mercy way.
Is it just me, or does it seem like this song is being sung a little low?
Yeah, I could see that.
Like, it sounds like it's just like a little bit lower than his normal register.
Yeah, that it could be.
This
could be that it's harder to replicate stuff live too. I don't know, but he certainly hits those high notes at other times.
No, I'm not trying to be an asshole.
No, I hear you.
Just
like,
making that
did
observation.
they literally pitch it lower? Yeah.
You're not trying. You just are.
I'm not.
No, I was just saying.
Sometimes during live concerts, they will pitch it.
Yeah.
So it's just a little easier to hit some of those.
Right.
Higher
And
notes.
I'm saying maybe he screamed his lungs out on the Striper tributes earlier and called an audible to take it down a half key or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It's this one's fine. Like he does a little intro at the end of the last track where he's like, "This is a praise song," and people don't really react. I don't know. Maybe you just can't hear the crowd noise, but interesting that he frames it that way. He's not wrong, but it's funny to hear it like so explicitly stated.
Yeah. I don't remember. I don't remember every song that he does an intro to.
Yeah. The sax sounds weird there.
Cold bottle glasses, I'm sitting in the corner with my finger up my nose. And my shoelaces untied again. Another day of school with no friends. Whoa, whoa. Social outcast, too great to hit a man with my high water pants. Giving meaning to pencil that geek. A ducker, so to speak, tongue in cheek. Sucker punching me, get in line for a wedgie. All I want and all I need is someone who believes in me. A sword, sunlight after dawn, for all the left out, the fight, flying for losers, somewhere in heaven. Oh God, everlasting comfort, be with me, for me. We're not faithless, he still died for me.
So we are 9 tracks into this record.
Like halfway through.
Well, no, what I'm saying is you've only had one of your top 3, and then Brian's had one, and I've had 0. Wow. So it's interesting looking back on a lot of these songs made up our previous top 3s. But
yeah, I think this is in keeping with what I was saying about like just because it's a great song on a proper record doesn't mean it's necessarily going to make the cut for me for this. But
do you have any thoughts on this one?
I was just saying, I don't know if it was audible that I was like the sax sounds super like muted and weird in that one. I'm not sure what's going on.
There's I don't know that it's I think it's what's different about a ska live record than what's different about like an MXPX live record that we previously did is that there are so many more variables.
Totally. Yeah.
When you have like this many people, this many instruments, and I think it's harder to
playing outdoor shows.
You know, there's a lot going on.
If you've got a bad horn sound for a live record, like that's not going to cut it for a band that has a horn section on every song.
Yeah, and I think like at the first live MXPX show, they played it at the 930 Club in DC. Isn't that where they played?
Where 5 Iron MXPX? What are we talking about?
No, MXPX's first live album at the show.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. I forgot about that.
So like. And so not just, but like Brian said, like playing outdoors in the middle of the summer and like
right.
Yeah, that's like the best place for MXPX. The 930 Club, if you're gonna play a live show in DC, that's like a great place to do it.
We went to shows there together, didn't we? I think we did.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Well, I'm pretty sure one of your last shows that you did together was like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 years ago when MXPX and 5 Iron played a show at.
Yeah.
And
I think was that both of them at that show, Brian? I don't remember. I guess it was. It's all a blur.
Yeah. I went to 2 5 Iron shows in Chicago once they reunited. But were we at both of those together? One of them was with MXPX, and then the other one was when I think they headlined and they had a very depressing Insiders opening. Yes,
we went to both of those together, and now it's weird to look back that Andrew, you were not at either of those. But yeah, the one at the Riv did not. That was not with MXPX. It was it was the other one that had both of them. So cool.
Moving on to a track that there's going to be some controversy about.
It's not unusual to be loved by anyone. It's not unusual to have fun with anyone. When I see you hanging out with anyone, it's not unusual to see me cry. I wanna die. It's not unusual to go out for any time. When I see you hanging about, it's such a crime. If you should ever want to be loved by anyone, it's not unusual, it happens every day. No matter what you say, you'll find it happens all
All right, that's enough.
So here's the deal. This is great. And you guys are lame.
That is false. We are awesome, and this cover is questionable at best.
Okay, make your defense, John, because I have a hard pass on this one every time it comes up.
You mean my number 3? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Wow, this is a bold claim right now.
What is unusual is that you love this song.
You know what it is that it's like, okay, full disclosure,
What's your relationship to
Tom Jones? I mean, marginal at best. No, I forgot that this was on All the Hype. All the Hype was not a big record for me, and I
don't think it was really a big record for anybody.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll get into it next week. But I just definitely forgot that was on the proper album. So I was like, oh, this is a really fun like live pull. This is one thing we talked about when we talked about covers too, is like, I love a good cover live. Like, I don't need a cover to be on an album necessarily, and I don't always need a cover even to be included in a covers record, like if it's just pretty straightforward. But as a fun live song for a ska band, I think this is a good one. It's cool. It's like something different. And then I went back and realized like, oh, they actually did this for the album, and then remembered that I was like, that's kind of a bummer that it's on like the proper album.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's fun. I would have a good time if those horns started.
Well, okay, so Brian can share his thoughts, but we had this conversation about 5 Iron and cover choices.
Yeah, I don't like their choice of covers. Like I don't think there's really any song that they cover that I like, and most of the time I would prefer they just left them off the albums.
What about Final Countdown, bro?
That's because
that's live only.
But it's different. Like, so like Amy Grant, like that cover is good, like good enough.
Slaps. It's a bop.
And and I like the ELO. I just think, I'm not saying that they're not decent covers. I just think that they're curious covers.
Yeah. Well, this will come up again, this album for me.
Same.
But there's one later that I really, really like.
I'm not saying you're wrong. It's tough first couple seconds for this song.
And I don't even care. Sorry for my lack of faith. I'm not the great.
So this is a great song. Overall, I'm not totally impressed with this performance either.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fun live song. I feel like when you hear me saying different things, I'm not saying it's not a good. I just sure.
On this
the quality of the recording,
particular cut, it doesn't.
Nixon sends with heart in hand.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I like when they have that little shout along though in the bridge where it's like the.
All right. Yeah.
See, aren't you just picturing yourself hopping along and having a good time? I am.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, whatever.
So this is the intro for New Hope. And I have various thoughts.
Same.
This is going to be a new song. It's called A New Hope, and it's also about freedom. But this freedom, we live in Denver, Colorado, and you guys know what all went down at Columbine. Well, we practiced at Micah's house, which is like 3 or 4 blocks from there. And his sister went to school there. She was like one of the kids locked in the choir room. And when we're at home, everyone's talking about it. But the thing is that they try and blame that on video games, and try and blame it on bad parenting, and try and blame it on TV violence and stuff. I think all those things are bad, but I think the real problem is that mankind is dark, and that without God, people do things like that. And
false.
I imagine you have some thoughts on that, Andrew.
Yes, there are plenty of people who don't believe in God that
Right.
don't go into schools and shoot them up. And I think you can look at a lot of extremism these days that has absolutely nothing to do with secular ideology. And I'm sure this is something that, Reese would probably not identify as not believing this. And his positions have shifted quite a bit over the years. And maybe he's not trying to say that like only atheists would ever commit such atrocities, but that is essentially what he's saying, is that without God, this is what the result is. And it's not too far removed from, this is what happens when you take prayer out of schools. You're left with a godless existence. And, I know coming off of a horrifying tragedy like Columbine, I like that he was trying to bring some nuance into it. It just where he ended up bummed me out, because it's not about video games, it's not about violent TV shows, it's so but yeah.
I was just gonna say that the flip side, the other side of the coin of the like, only people who are without God do things like that. Like, also people who do claim to be with God do things like that all the time.
Right.
So
that's what I was.
That's what you were saying too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know, Brian, I'd be interested to hear what you think too. But like, I think having a theology of like a world that was meant to exist with God in it, the world as God intended, is not supposed to have stuff like this. And the way that the world turned out to be different from that does as a result. If that's the theology, like I can get on board with that idea. But I don't know if it's quite as broad as what I think that may be a broader read than what he's saying here, because I don't buy the idea that like, if you don't have God, you are more prone to stuff like this. So I don't know. Anyway, it's complicated.
Yeah. I mean, I have thought, while kind of like listening a little more closely to the lyrics over the last couple of weeks to their first few albums, that there's a definite kind of reformed theology in their lyrics. I mean, and you hear it in that kind of idea that mankind is dark and without God, they do things like that. That's very much kind of like a total depravity of humankind idea. And you see it in other aspects of their songs where they talk about, Reese writes things that, about kind of almost, kind of God dictating. I'm trying to find where it is that.
Isn't this what we were talking about last week, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, it could be, depending on the song you're talking about. It could
My
be,
Evil Plan to Save the World definitely gets into some of that.
Yeah, it could be like a Dennis song. Dennis has
Yeah, and so I mean, it's just it comes up where the idea that God is in control of everything,
right.
and humans apart from God are wretched, and we can't do anything good without God. And that,
right.
Those ideas, and I know from doing a little bit of work, it seems like they were all part of like a Presbyterian church, which has a kind of Reformed theology. And so that your early, that kind of, especially when you're in your early 20s, that Reformed theology, which gives you kind of a very kind of rigid framework to kind of base your life around, is enticing. But I think the longer you live, the less it really holds. Which is maybe why a few of the lyrics in some of these songs you kind of hear and you're like, that doesn't really.
Well, that's also like, that's second season, and Beautiful America. Those are like some of those. The world is bad. Everything's evil. Right. Can't wait till we're all dead and in heaven. And
yeah, the line between a sort of countercultural, going against the grain of society's ways movement, and the like, this godless world and we're different, is kind of blurred sometimes in the like Christian punk world. So I think that's what I've been discovering a little bit with some of these albums, is stuff that I thought was more the former is actually more the latter, I think. That like anyway, but just like musically, I will say the song is pretty cool to hear. It's our like introduction on the record to any new non-cover material, and it's the only one here not from the first 3 records, at least, not counting the cover. And it is kind of like, it's definitely indicative of a new sound they're going into, but I really like that horn line, and it's an interesting song. I don't know, we'll talk more about it next week, but
the thing I was trying to find earlier was actually from Flowery Song.
Oh, okay.
It says, songs to God in control of the seasons. What's good and bad flows from thy hands. That kind of idea. Right?
Yeah. Interesting.
Shall we move into A New Hope?
So it's called A New Hope.
I forgot we hadn't listened yet.
Going back to school today, elation, jubilation stream from her face. Did the house smell of gunpowder still? What made the human mind dark enough to kill? A new hope. Where is your freedom? A new hope. Cast off your burdens.
Yeah, that horn line, and I mean all of that rules.
Yeah, that's great. I forgot we hadn't listened to it already.
That's fine. No, I feel like we covered that significantly, so we don't really. Do you have anything to say about the lyrics there? Or?
We'll save it for next week.
All right, that's fair.
I think the most important part of the song comes after. Kingdom of the Dinosaurs. I admire them for including this.
I do remember this from Cornerstone. Because I seem to recall that he says like march around in circles or something like that.
Okay.
That's enough.
jam.
Yeah, I think we said in that album episode that the intro is fun live. Yeah, which it sure is.
It hypes you up for sure.
Yeah, it's very fast. Also, yeah, it's fun. I got nothing else to say.
I mean, the lyrics are kind of like,
yeah, not particularly resonant for us.
I always wonder why they play this. I don't know if they play this as much now, but I always wonder like why they didn't in that space play like Old West.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Is it Riot Gear? Like,
yeah,
I don't know if I don't know if I've ever heard them play that live. That would be awesome to hear live.
Perhaps we'll convey that to them.
I'm saying, yeah. All right, Ugly Day, another song on the forthcoming record at this point.
Oh yeah.
How this happened, didn't think it ever could. I'm the author who set me love songs, trading in my bachelorhood. Something snapped deep inside me, something that somebody said. Felt the buzz of angels' wings and your voice echoed in my head. Ugly day, sun is shining, every cloud's got a silver lining. Ugly day, skies are blue. That I've always prayed for. Scans are falling from my eyes. Must have been so blind before. I would lie down on the street, keep the dust off of your feet. I would kneel each time I kissed you. Anything, Christy, I miss you. Ugly day, sun is shining, every cloud's got a silver lining. Ugly day, skies are blue now, every day.
Whoa.
I'm feeling the song these days.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right. That bridge that we're going to there is pretty good.
Yeah. Got them some lineal whoops.
Indeed. Whoa. Not quite that, I guess. It was not one, again, that I particularly remembered from Hype. Going through Hype is going to be interesting. But it didn't do a ton for me here either. I don't know. It's fine.
It's not a song that I particularly
Do we know anything about Christy?
No, it's something I wonder every time I hear the song.
I feel like I was looking up that like I don't know if it was a serious girlfriend or a fiance or something like that, but it seems like one of those ill-advised things to do when you're in an established band to name check
a particular person. Yeah, no, I think I remember reading that it was about his engagement being broken off. So,
yeah.
Anyway, that's a bummer.
Yeah. Speaking of non-bummers.
Woo!
I want to do one more song.
Yeah.
Okay?
Shouts to our girl.
Okay.
That's right.
This is just one more quick song I want to do real quick. And it's dedicated to all the people that are over here. Because you guys have been real supportive and cool.
She's talking about us.
That's right. Yeah.
She went ham.
She went ham. She says in the outtakes later that the lyrics weren't right at all. Because I'm like, what does she say? It does not sound like I get hit by cars at the end there, that's for sure.
No, it definitely does not sound like she ever says she eats mashed potatoes.
No.
time to hear it, but it's
Get back, guys.
Yeah.
It's great, whatever it is.
Couple down in Arizona, after at the bus again. 10 o'clock on Tuesday, now at 13 cents in a broken bed. Put my backpack on the bed, tell two people I don't smoke. See the couple cops I see, things that I am selling them. I could have walked another block to get away from the hot scene. Why does it always come to this? Where is he? Blow me some whip day. So I gave my 13 cents to the man who beat his pants. Passes head and falls on me. I watch my chains off from his head. See the lady next to me. There's a baby black and blue. Junkie got a punky back.
So this is my number 3.
Oh, interesting. Tell me why.
It's one of the songs I feel like they've probably played so much at this point that it just sounds really tight. It sounds really practiced, and I think the horns at the beginning sound really, really great.
Yeah.
But I also I like the I think that there's this particular block of songs coming up. I just think is really strong. I really like the ending.
Hi, Keith.
Is this when he makes the underwear joke?
How are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks you guys for coming and staying up late with us.
Hey, Keith. What are you doing over there?
Over here?
Yeah, over there.
I'm keeping it real. What are you guys doing out there? Are you keeping it real?
Word.
Keep it real.
I like that Leonore needs to remind him how the joke is supposed to go. Like he's like, "What are you doing over there?" It's like, no, that's.
I can't tell if he's just messing with him, or if he's trying to lead up to that joke or not.
Well, you can hear Leonore in the background.
What are you guys doing out there? Are you keeping it real?
Word.
Keep it real.
What? Hey, yeah, Keith, what were you eating under there?
Underwear.
Oh my gosh, you were.
Oh, wait, we gotta take that off the album so it'll make it in the Christian bookstores.
Love a Christian bookstore bus toss on record.
That is one of the reasons it's my number 3, and especially in this era, 1999 era of like when the Fundamental Elements of Southtown by POD was censored for Christian bookstores.
And the aforementioned At the Show by MXPX also removed a song for Christian bookstores.
Yeah, removed the KKK Ramones song. Yeah.
Oh, Christian bookstores.
Did you guys shop at Christian bookstores?
Sometimes. I mean,
have you listened to our podcast?
I mean, I typically download and don't listen. So
thank you. Yeah, we've talked for a while about going to a Lifeway or a 2020 Lifeway equivalent and potting about it.
See, I don't think I ever did, and this is I discovered Five Iron Frenzy at the Best Buy on Rand Road in Northwest.
That was where,
and I found it there. Like that.
Shouts to the Best Buy on Rand Road, where I also picked up my Teenage Politics CD.
Yeah. An important place for us, a punk milestone.
Yeah. Shopping at big corporate.
This will go down in Christian punk history as life changing.
I mean, I know one Christian bookstore that you hung out at, Brian, because I worked there in college, and it was the Covenant Bookstore. So,
but that's because it had the books for.
I know, but it also had many CDs.
It did. That is true.
I did cop some CDs at that bookstore.
Yeah.
Now on to.
It helps to eat a tasty low-fat snack before you.
It's time to burn up those carbos. Come on. 2. Yeah.
I love it.
This company is great. Also I forgot about those. Listen to this album.
chicken bits and jalapenos on my Polish hot dog. Half a pound of potato chips in a beef jerky log. Press my face through the window, wrap a sticks to my shirt. 8 people in a stinky van, couple more could learn. Eat some food off the floor. I've developed a taste for bread bowl. Ride around in a bed, don't take a shower for 6 weeks. And we've been given superpowers. That's God's woman autograph. We sing, we dance, we'll make you laugh. Don't you want to be like us?
Unequivocally, my number one.
My number one too.
Yeah. So this is where we get to covers.
Yeah.
If they're going to like almost play a minute and a half of close to me, why not cover that? Because it sounds great.
Yes,
it sounds
it does.
great. And that would be a million times better than any Tom Jones song that they could ever cover.
I mean, I agree with that, and that's why it's my number one. But yeah, I have in my notes, it just made me want them to do a straight ahead cover of the song.
This is my point. It's like, if that's the best we can get, I mean, and there's something else I forgot to mention during the when we talked about It's Not Unusual. The only approved use of Tom Jones, in my opinion, is the use of what John Mulaney and his friend did at the Salt and Pepper Diner, where they played What's New Pussycat on the jukebox 21 times.
I mean,
much to the chagrin of everybody in there. But they did throw, like, right in the middle, they did throw It's Not Unusual in there to mix it up, right back to What's New Pussycat.
Amazing. Yeah, I love that song already, and I know there have been punk covers of it before, but just the the kind of done with the swing style and the horns in there. I mean, it just sounds great. I'm really into that.
And I think, I'm not a horn expert, but I'm assuming that was Dennis on the trombone.
I would think so.
I mean, it sounded, but that was a great trombone solo.
No, it sounds really good. And I love it going into superpowers. Like, it's a fun combo, and superpowers sounds good here too.
Okay.
You know, guys, I know what it's like to be at the rock and roll concerts. You go, you might be a little bit lonely, you might look to your right or left, and maybe you see this, I just drooled on myself, a beautiful young lady. And you're saying to yourself, if only they would play a slow song, that I might take that young lady in my arms and slow dance with her as if the night would never end. Well, my friends, now is your chance. Take that girl in your arms and slow dance like there's no tomorrow. This is all fake.
Summer of 1970.
Specific memories of people slow dancing at that moment, like people grabbing at the cornerstone.
Love it.
We pass the time by making lines on the seat that we can cross a thin line like dental fly. See through my girl blue, go back the window somewhere at 70. That's it, I'm sorry, we can't go back, we're never going back to get it. Get lost the first home I ever had. Got into some money from my mom and my dad. Like Louis color, I could never have another girl like that. Big and fat, so tell me how to sit in my car. Side by side, yeah, don't cut the memorize. Lies and empty, lies about. Very much means I'm lying on the cross. I tell me I have you sit in my car.
It's my number 2. know.
Okay, interesting.
It's my number one.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I enjoy it, but what makes it so special for you guys?
I mean, the song is a banger, no matter what context it's in.
Correct.
But I'm looking at this song through the lens of this particular album, which is why Superpowers, which was not on my top 3, for like the Close to Me intro for Superpowers, and then Reese's banter with this song. And, just his over dramatic intro, I think is funny. And then him saying this is all fake. I just think that it's all.
Yeah, that's good.
It's like a piece of performance art. It's just like, it's silly.
I mean, to me, this is if you're gonna, again, for me, it's if you go to a 5-iron show and they don't play Blue Cone 78, you're going to be like, did I actually see 5-iron play? I mean, it is required. And so
I'd go and get my riot gear.
It's just, this has to be a part of the show, and it's a great version of the song. And
it's also, so going from this song into Every New Day, both of these songs have the quintessential 5-iron crescendo moments. Mm-hmm. So back to back,
they both. Spoiler alert: Every New Day is my number 2, but
I'm breaking protocol here.
but like you mentioned, they both have those moments, and both of those songs make me feel something.
Right.
No matter what context I listen to them in, whether it's the live version, at a show, on the original album, like they all move me in a way that I can't disassociate from my, connection to it from 20 years ago. But
right. Yes. Yep. We've said the same things about kind of their worship adjacent, or at least sort of like emotionally honest and transcendent songs in each of the episodes, where it's just like, it still connects with me today emotionally, but it's also like the emotions of that time from back then are still so wrapped up in it. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. We need to also talk about this intro.
This is something that I have to pray myself every day, because I don't know. I just think that the purpose of this world is not so you can get all the cool houses and toys and cars and stuff that you want. It's pretty much just to make you realize how much of a jerk you are and how much you need God. And this song is just about how when you're at the bottom and you realize that you're the biggest jerk in the world and you need God to carry you, that He loves you enough to look past how big a jerk you are and carry you. It's called.
So, it's hard for me. I don't know. Okay, maybe we should just listen to Every New Day, and then I'll get into some of my thoughts.
Called Every New Day.
Sure.
When I was young, the smallest thing of light could catch my eye. Then life was new, and every new day I thought that I could fly. I believed in what I hoped for, and I hoped in things unseen. I had wings and dreams could soar. I just don't feel like flying anymore. When the stars threw down their clears, what had happened with their tears? Before words were spoken, before eternity. Dear Father, I need you. You'll sing my heart to mend. I want to fly higher every new day again. When I was small, the furthest I could reach was not so high, and I thought the world was so much smaller, feeling I could fly through distant deeps and skies.
I'm gonna try and move forward to a.
Man versus himself, man versus machine, man versus the world, mankind versus me. The struggles go on, the wisdom I lack, the burdens keep piling up on my back. So hard to breathe, then take the next step. The mountain is high, I wait in the depths, yearning for grace and hoping for me. God and grace, till the end. Oh God, have mercy on clean souls once again. Jesus Christ, light of the world, burning bright within our hearts forever. Free, only you can make every new day seem so new.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's a great song, and we talked about in the previous episode that I don't see this song as emotionally manipulative like I see other worship songs that are the chord progressions are so
right
calculated and precise to be manipulative to generate like an emotional response. I honestly feel like this is an authentically written song. The preface about that our purpose on this earth is just to realize how shitty we are. Is something that I have struggled with for most of my life, and I blame so much of this way of thinking and the perpetuation of it through a lot of Christian music that reinforced a self-hatred in me and a lot of other people that we suck, and just the repetition of we suck.
Yeah.
And then after decades of saying that to ourselves, we're like, oh, why do I feel like shit all the time?
Right.
And I think some people internalize that in different ways, but I took it to heart very seriously, and it is a very, in my view, a very damaging and toxic form of theology, and I hope other people can see beyond that way of thinking and view this song in a more positive way, as opposed to just thinking, I need to pray every day that God loves me since I'm so awful.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think I sort of bumped on what he was saying in the intro a little bit. I don't know that I attach it to the lyrics of the song as much, but yeah, once you look at the song through that lens, maybe it shifts a little. But yeah, it's certainly in keeping with what you were saying, Brian, about that Reformed sort of just like we're garbage and we'll never be anything but without God's help, kind of. And even then, we're still garbage.
I think that comes out in that kind of aspect as he talks before the song, and it does, like, this is always interesting. And I know you mentioned this on last week's podcast, Andrew, that like having grown up in the same house and having listened to a lot of the same music and have received very different messages, like that's not something that I internalized in the same way you did. But I would agree that there is like a fetishization of is that the right word? Is that a word? Fetishization of this idea that like we're because we're human, we're garbage, and but without kind of being able to say, like, I can both say that I am broken and that the word sin has a lot of difficult connotations these days, but that I make mistakes in the broadest sense, like in the way that I participate in broken systems in this world, and I participate in screwing up in my own daily life, but without kind of making that the kind of frame in which I view my entire existence. That I can say, I can both see that there is things about me that I need to work on, while also finding that I don't think the purpose in this life is to just focus on how crappy I am, but to, and that's what it always confuses me about this theology aspect in some of their songs, is because part of what Five Iron does is they bring so much joy in their music.
Right.
Yeah.
And a sense in which you can have a great time and think about these difficult issues, from, the murder of Native Americans to poverty, while also like having just a silly time with these crazy songs. And why do we have to just focus on that? We're because we're human and broken, we're so terrible, and we can't begin to see a way in which God is calling us to a not focus, because that's again another way of just kind of turning the focus on ourselves.
Right. Kind of theology where it's about our own salvation, our own personal relationship, our own brokenness, and it makes the faith about us and not the collective. And but John and I have said this before, that these songs feel like outliers, which is why they so often stand out to me so much, because the tone is so strikingly different than to what you're saying. The Brit talking about other things that, are of importance outside of ourselves and about silly things, and then bringing it back to like, oh, but by the way, we're all garbage. It's just like, it's jarring to me.
Yeah. And it's particularly interesting that this then leads into I Love You, Lord, and I Lift My Voice after the song. We've talked about how they used to close their sets with, or Reese would just do worship songs after. And I'm glad it's only a little bit of it here, because it's like, that is the sort of peak 90s CCM style worship that when I listen to it today doesn't move me. But I do. There's something to the idea that like there was an open wrestling and sort of like willingness to kind of get authentic, I think, that maybe is part of why this worked for people, even if the theology, is questionable. Like somebody openly wrestling in an era where Christian music was like all about the shine over everything and glossiness, not acknowledging the struggle aspect as much. I don't know. Maybe there's something there. Anyway, that's a lot of thoughts.
Let's move on to something significantly less heavy.
Yeah, we got to blow through some of these. There's a lot of mess ups here.
Tuesday, 12:40 p.m.
Hi, this is Reese Roper from Five Iron Frenzy. I'd like to say thank you for buying another one of our stupid albums. This is a hidden track, and it contains various mistakes that we made over the 11 shows we played for this live album. You may notice that we are not rock stars, because you will hear these mess-ups and you will say to yourself, my God, what have I done? What have I done? Yes, you will. Okay, here's Jeff.
I don't know what kind of banter Reese has told you, but yeah, we mess up a lot, and sorry that the words for When I Go Out aren't right at all. And you might get to hear the clip where half of the band started with one song and half of the band started with other song and stuff like that. And yeah, like you said, we're not rock stars, but I hope you enjoy these outtakes.
The song is called To Hell with the Devil!
I love this so much.
He loves doing that.
That was your cue, drummer!
This might be my favorite outtake of all.
It's like, what happened?
So bad.
What just happened? Oh yeah, brother! What? happened.
Yeah.
This is why they had to come back out and play songs over, like I said.
Okay, we practiced a lot.
I wasn't ready. I'm sorry.
Good job,
Micah.
Micah!
Failed.
That's on
Tape!
record now.
See what hair does to you.
Forever on tape.
The hair thing makes more sense knowing that they're wearing wigs.
Tape, Micah?
How my
Okay,
fingers
quick,
are
you're wasting tape, Micah.
Hey, how do you like our new song?
I need to say that Brian and I still to this day on the reg will say, "Tape, Micah, you're wasting tape. You're wasting tape."
Oh man, that makes me very happy.
It's just so it's great. I love it. Can I start the song now? These are all so brutal.
Junior high schooler with pencils in my pocket and my tab keep on busting. Spilling papers and blah, blah, blah. Not when in 7th grade anymore. That was actually the second verse.
Blah, blah, blah.
Hey, you guys, there's a 10-year-old kid named Michael.
Yeah, all these
Smith.
missing
Michael
kids.
Smith, who's 10 here. Michael, who's 10, you need to
definitely
go
some
to
of this
the
at the
scaffolding
cornerstone.
underneath.
No
the
doubt.
I
spot
bet,
right
yeah.
there.
Sorry to interrupt the show. I'm looking for a Marisa Banta. Your mother's looking for you. Just go back to your tent, please.
She's on Facebook.
Marisa Banta.
Marisa Banta.
You know, I'm sensing a theme here. If anyone has left your mom and she's worried about you, go talk to her. Okay. That's good advice. That's real good advice. Hey, how's everybody in the back doing? Is everybody in the back doing okay?
Gotta apologize for that. Micah, how you doing over there, homeboy?
I'm doing good, homie.
Word, are you keeping it real?
Keep it real.
Yo, hey, Micah, are you keeping on the DL?
Keep it on the down.
See, this feels like you from the hip hop pants, where I'm just like, this is embarrassing.
Oh man. Let's see what else we got here.
Dennis is trying to ask me a question.
Dennis is asking a question.
They're like setting up a bit here.
The moment's gone.
Come on, Dennis.
I was ready to open up, okay?
Did I wreck it? I didn't.
Yes,
hear-
Keith,
Wrecked
you wrecked
a
it.
stupid movie reference.
Sorry.
It's not funny, okay?
Hey, how many of you guys were here last year when we played? Okay.
Last year, we played 2 years ago.
Oh, it's 2 years ago.
And all of those people unintentionally got.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely last year. You liars.
Look, we're sellouts now, and you guys have to sit in seats, and we're not playing the punk rock stage. And I want to apologize to all the punk rockers out there. We're sorry we're sellouts. We hope you still like us.
See, Leonore speaking right to a young Johnny's heart right there about
That's true, yeah.
being concerned about selling out. You definitely would have been one of those people in the back being like, man, this is lame.
I don't want to be in suits.
How am I supposed to open up that pit?
I know, right?
Sure you wrap things
that
up?
about covers it, right?
I think so.
Brian, congratulations. You may be on one of our longest ever episodes.
Yeah, this is a long one.
Well, closing
Say that
thoughts?
every episode.
I mean,
Well, last week was under 2 hours. I think that might be one of our records.
All right.
There was
Good job, us.
it was an EP, so
This balances that out.
yeah.
Closing parting thoughts, anyone? It's fun to go through this record.
Yeah. It's interesting to think about how many albums we covered for MXPX before we actually got to a
right.
You know, this is only 2 full lengths and an EP, and we're already at a live record.
Yeah.
So this is new. Yeah, but I'm good.
Cool. Well, weigh in with what you think about this record and all things Five Iron at our Magnified Pod socials on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. If you're enjoying us, give us a rating or a review wherever you get your podcasts, and go ahead and subscribe if you aren't already. That would help us out.
Smash that subscribe.
So you got to smash the subscribe button. Email us at magnifiedpod@gmail.com to share more takes.
You can also give us a call and leave us a voicemail, 872-762-4763, 8727-MAGPOD.
That's right. You can support us at patreon.com/magnifiedpod, buy merch at magnifiedpod.storeenvy.com. Almost forgot that one. And special thanks to our shadow producer, Unoriginal Vinyl. You can find them at Unoriginal Vinyl. And thanks to Heavy Ordnance Studios at Heavy_Ordnance_Studios, and Danny Leary of MXPX Memes and Sadie Hawkins Pod for our artwork. Well, time is winding down, but only for this ep. We want you to be found enjoying the next ep, when we'll cover all the hype that money can buy. Perfect.
It's not unusual to be loved by anyone.
Doing the Carlton dance.
It's not unusual to have fun with anyone. When I see you hanging out with anyone, it's not unusual to see I'm in love with you. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Beautiful.
No, I mean that's about as on par with Tom Jones. The song
I understand.
This song's hot garbage.
Those are interesting takes.
I'm talking about that TJ over here. Tom Jones sucks.
Talking about that TJ over here?
I'm talking about that Tom Jones over here.
Yeah, I can't defend it that much.
Hey, what's new, Pussycat? What's new? So you suck over here.
That's good. Nailed it.
Oh man.